Right.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Director Patel, in addition to the extensive purge of nonpartisan career FBI official reports indicate that dozens of remaining officials have been subjected to polygraph exams to test their loyalty. My understanding is that approximately 40 officials have been asked to sit for a polygraph during your administration, and several have been asked whether they have ever made negative comments about you. Director Patel, FBI agents pledge their loyalty to the Constitution of the United States, not you personally. What is the basis for requiring polygraph exams of your workforce and asking them if they've made negative comments about you?
I don't know what reports you're referring to, Ranking Member, and I reject any reporting that has false information in it, so I'm not going to respond to that. As far as polygraphs go, generally they are always and always have been utilized at the FBI to track down those that leak sensitive information and have unauthorized disclosures to the media, and we will continue to use them to ensure the integrity of the FBI.
Did any individual on your senior executive team, the director's advisory team, or who serve in the positions on the 7th floor receive disqualifying alerts on their polygraphs?
Senator, I'm not going to get into the personnel discussions that were had on a polygraph. Those are private discussions, and many of them relate to ongoing investigations.
Did you or Attorney General Bondi provide any individual with a waiver so they could remain employed after they received disqualifying alerts on their polygraphs?
I'll have to get back to you.
You don't remember that?
No, sir. My priority is protecting the American public, not getting into the weeds of polygraphs.
And to have a decent memory when you come before a committee.
I'm happy to talk about all the good work the men and women of the FBI are doing, including provided the lowest crime rate in American history. If you want to talk about how to protect the citizens, Chicago has seen a 30% reduction in its murder rate because of the men and women of the FBI.
You take credit for that?
I'll happily do that.
You
the
take
interagency partners and the men and women of the Chicago PD have never been more
include
powerful.
local law enforcement, please.
Have you ever seen my testimony across this country where I always lead with our interagency partnerships with state and local law enforcement? It is the pillar of what I am doing. And on the 7th floor, for the first time in FBI history, I have installed police officers and sheriffs right on my 7th floor to report to us every day what's going around the country on the street level, because that is a priority of the FBI and is the only way we are going to work. I don't take credit for anything, but I will defend the men and women of the FBI and the cops that help us get it done.
You should. Director Patel, to your knowledge, did a whistleblower ever make a disclosure to Attorney General Bondi indicating that the New York field office was withholding Epstein-related records?
I'm not familiar with that whistleblower.
You know that there was such a whistleblower?
I'm not familiar with that whistleblower.
In response to the blowback she received, Attorney General Bondi also pushed the FBI to review approximately 100,000 Epstein-related records on an arbitrarily short deadline in March, and the FBI was directed to flag any documents that mentioned President Trump. Nothing came of that review until July, when DOJ and FBI released an unsigned memorandum stating there is no incriminating client list. Why was this July 7th memorandum unsigned?
Would you prefer I've used AutoPen?
Why was it unsigned?
The memorandum had the insignia of the Department of Justice and the Federal Bureau of Investigation. And in our effort to secure transparency for the American people, because the 3 prior administrations had not done so, we conducted an exhaustive search of everything related to the Epstein cases, and we produced what was legally and permissibly able to be produced to Congress and the American public.
So
and there's a congressional subpoena, and we're continuing to do so.
Did you personally direct that investigation so that you would sign such a...
Did I personally direct what investigation?
Of the Epstein records for any reference to President Trump?
Again, you are citing reporting that I think is baseless. We conducted an investigation of the Epstein case files pursuant to the direction of the President of the administration to provide all credible information, and we are working with Congress pursuant to a congressional subpoena to turn over all the documents we can. All individuals.
Who at DOJ and FBI was responsible for its drafting and conclusions?
Many individuals at the Department of Justice and the FBI are responsible.
There was no lead person?
The Attorney General leads the Department of Justice, and I lead the FBI.
So the Attorney General is responsible for that?
The Attorney General leads the Department of Justice.
Director Patel, much like you, Deputy Director Dan Bongino was a conspiracy theorist who built a lucrative career making inflammatory and unsubstantiated statements about the FBI that would be disqualifying in any administration that cared about nonpartisan law enforcement. For instance, Mr. Bongino called the placement of pipe bombs outside the DNC and RNC headquarters on January 6, quote, an inside job, and went on to say this was a setup. I have zero doubt, and whoever goes into the FBI, you better get an answer about why. Director Patel, you and Deputy Director Bongino are now leading the FBI. What is the evidence to suggest the pipe bombs placed outside of the DNC and RNC on January 6 were an inside job?
I appreciate the opportunity to discuss Director Bongino's mine record. So many on this committee and the media jettison our 31 years of public service.
Can you answer the question, sir?
I'm answering the question. You're questioning the integrity of the Deputy Director of the FBI and mine.
If you found any
and I'm going to
evidence.
answer the question.
I'm
The pipe
asking-
bomb investigation is ongoing, and I'm not going to discuss the
Ongoing?
details of the pipe bomb investigation. Mr. Bongino was a Secret Service agent for 15 years, a police officer for 5. I served this country in multiple administrations for 16 years. We were also private citizens, and we are now back in government service. And what we have the ability to do is set aside our personal beliefs to deliver the mission of justice for this country, and we're doing it day in and day out. And I find it disgusting that everyone and anyone would jettison our 31 years of combined experience that is now at the helm of the FBI, delivering historic results at historic speeds for the American people.
So you have no evidence?
I got a lot of evidence, and I'll give it to you when I can.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. There's a New York Times story this morning about Chris Meyer. As I understand it, he was your personal pilot, at least for some period of time. Mr. Meyer has quite a record himself. Flew over 350 hours as an Air Force pilot on 3 aircraft types in Afghanistan. Mr. Jardina, another former FBI agent, a 1999 graduate of U.S. Naval Academy, commanded 100 Marines in combat during the 2003 invasion of Iraq, participated in several firefights, followed up with 2011 deployment as reservist to Afghanistan, where he interrogated senior Taliban officials. It appears that you terminated these 2 agents. Why?
I'm not going to get into personnel decisions that we made.
So you're not accountable for your decisions to take people who served our country so admirably and terminate them without any cause?
That's a one-sided story. Anyone that has
Well,
been
then
terminated from
so
the
tell
FBI,
your-
generally
tell your
speaking,
side of the story.
failed to meet the needs of the FBI and uphold their constitutional duties. And you providing a one-sided story from your perch is absolutely disgraceful, because the men and women of the FBI deserve better. And your attack on the current leadership of the men and women of the FBI is equally disgraceful, because now you're attacking the leaders that are our brave SACs in
Let me
the
tell you
field
what's
who are
disgraceful.
doing the job that this
Disgraceful.
country needs.
It's
And we will
disgraceful.
continue to do it.
Excuse me, it's disgraceful when Mr. Meyer and Mr. Jardina, who served our country so well, are terminated apparently because of the rants of a broadcaster.
That is your
all?
opinion. It is not a fact.
Well, it's certainly my opinion I can back up with fact. Let me ask you to explain the situation in Baltimore, if you will. Did you read the story about the termination of the project in Baltimore?
Which story?
764 Group?
Sorry. Which story?
764 Group, the Baltimore agents were investigating. Are you familiar with that?
No, sir.
Well, I'm not going to go into detail. It would take too long to do it. But apparently that this group, 764, a nihilistic, violent extremist group, seeks to blackmail children to perform vile acts on a camera, under investigation by Baltimore, which was terminated by you. I'd like you to respond in writing, if you will, as to the circumstances of that termination.
Sure. Our operations against NVEs, as you're referring to, has been historically high, and we've taken down multiple NVE rings, including 764 rings, who are harming children and causing them to be mutilated and
Last
commit
question,
suicide.
can you explain why you are eliminating the requirements for a college degree for your agents?
I appreciate the opportunity to address that. You said in your opening statement, we are reducing the training requirements at Quantico. We are not. We are expanding them. You are referring to an 1811 crossover program, because I believe the men and women of places like the DEA, the ATF, and the Marshal Service and the Secret Service who want to work at the FBI should deserve that opportunity in a shortened bridge program, which we provided. We are also keeping the 18-week BFTC as is traditionally being held at the FBI. So we're not reducing any requirements. We are increasing those that we bring into the FBI.
Did you change any of the requirements on college degrees?
we are allowing police officers who have served for a number of years to come into the FBI who did not obtain the requisite college degree to apply to be federal agents because we feel they have the street-level experience we need to conduct this mission.
I yield, Mr. Chairman.
At a Senate Judiciary Committee hearing, Senator Dick Durbin, Democrat, Illinois, posed tough questions to FBI Director Kash Patel, pressing him on several controversial issues surrounding the agency's operations. One of the main points of contention was the use of polygraph exams for FBI officials. Durbin raised concerns that many of these officials were being asked to pledge their loyalty to Patel personally, rather than to the Constitution, which is the standard for FBI agents. Patel rejected these claims, asserting that polygraphs are used to detect leaks of sensitive information and maintain the integrity of the FBI. He argued that polygraphs have always been a tool to track down those who may disclose classified information unauthorizedly, not a method to test personal loyalty to the director. Further questioning from Durbin delved into the matter of personnel decisions, particularly the potential for disqualifying alerts on the polygraphs taken by senior FBI officials. Patel, however, refused to comment on individual cases, stating that such personnel matters are confidential and often relate to ongoing investigations. He stressed that the FBI prioritizes national security and public safety over individual personnel issues. Durbin then shifted the conversation to the FBI's work with local law enforcement, particularly in Chicago, where the agency's efforts reportedly led to a 30% reduction in the city's murder rate. Patel took this opportunity to emphasize that the FBI's primary goal is protecting the American public. He highlighted the role of interagency partnerships with state and local law enforcement, mentioning that for the first time in FBI history, police officers and sheriffs have been stationed directly within the FBI's headquarters to provide real-time intelligence on street-level crime. Patel made it clear that the FBI's collaborative efforts have been pivotal in reducing crime rates in cities like Chicago. The conversation then turned to the investigation into the late financier Jeffrey Epstein and his associates. Durbin asked Patel about a whistleblower who claimed the FBI's New York field office had withheld Epstein-related records. Patel denied knowledge of any such whistleblower and defended the FBI's handling of the investigation, asserting that the agency had conducted an exhaustive search for documents related to Epstein's case. He also defended the FBI's transparency in releasing a memorandum in July, which concluded that there was no incriminating client list involving Epstein. Patel rebuffed questions about the unsigned nature of the memo, emphasizing the FBI's efforts to ensure transparency and the release of all relevant documents. The discussion also touched on the ongoing investigation into the pipe bombs found outside the Democratic National Committee, DNC, and Republican National Committee, RNC, headquarters on January 6. Durbin pressed Patel on comments made by Deputy Director Jen Bonino, who had suggested that the placement of these bombs might have been an inside job. Patel refused to engage in discussing the details of the investigation but stood firm in defending the integrity of both himself and Bonino, citing their decades of experience in law enforcement. Senator Durbin also questioned Patel about the termination of two FBI agents, Chris Meyer and Mr. Jordina, both of whom had distinguished military careers. Durbin suggested that their terminations were based on outside influence from a broadcaster's complaints. Patel denied the accusation, stating that the FBI made those decisions based on the agent's failure to meet the agency's standards and obligations. He further asserted that such terminations were consistent with the FBI's mission of upholding the rule of law. The conversation then shifted to a specific case in Baltimore, where a group named Group 764 was reportedly involved in exploiting children. Durbin asked Patel to explain why the investigation into the group had been terminated, to which Patel replied that he was unaware of the specifics but defended the FBI's record in tackling violent extremist groups and child exploitation. Finally, Durbin questioned Patel about changes to the FBI's hiring requirements, particularly regarding the removal of the college degree requirement for certain candidates. Patel clarified that the FBI was not reducing training requirements but instead expanding opportunities for experienced law enforcement officers to join the FBI through a shortened program. He explained that the FBI still requires extensive training but is allowing experienced police officers to bypass the standard college degree requirement, citing their practical street-level experience. Throughout the hearing, Patel repeatedly emphasized his commitment to protecting the American public and the integrity of the FBI. Despite the tough questioning, he defended the FBI's work and the leadership of both himself and his senior staff.